MCAT 2017 Cram, Critical Analysis and Reasoning Skills, Flashcard Set 19.2, Energy and Sustainable Development in Nigeria. As you read the passage, you'll notice a few snippets of highlighted text. What I want you to do is gather meaning from these specific selections in order to answer the reasoning beyond the text questions that follow. The passage is really not that bad, and neither are the questions, so good luck and happy reading. All right. Paragraph 1. Nigeria's energy need is on the increase, and its increasing population is not adequately considered in the government's energy development program. The present urban-centered energy policy is deplorable, as cases of rural and subrural meaning short of country but not officially considered country, energy demand and supply do not reach the center stage of the country's energy development policy. People in rural areas depend on burning wood and traditional biomass for their energy needs, causing great deforestation, emitting greenhouse gases, and polluting the environment, thus creating global warming and environmental concerns. The main task has been to supply energy to the cities and various places of industrialization, thereby creating an energy imbalance within the country's socioeconomic and political landscapes. Comparing the present and ever increasing population with the total capacity of the available power station reveals that Nigeria is not able to meet the energy needs of the people. The rural dwellers still lack electric power. Paragraph 2. The nature of Nigeria's energy crisis can be characterized by two key factors. The first concerns the recurrent severe shortages of the petroleum product market, of which kerosene and diesel are the most prominent. Nigeria has 5 domestic refineries owned by the government with a capacity to process 450,000 barrels of oil per day, yet imports, the word imports meaning goods or services brought into a country from abroad for sale, constitute more than 75% of petroleum product requirements. The state-owned refineries have hardly operated above a 40% capacity utilization rate for any extended period of time in the past 2 decades. The gasoline market is much better supplied than kerosene and diesel because of its higher political profile. This factor explains why the government has embarked on large import volumes to remedy domestic shortages of the product. The weaker political pressures exerted by the consumers of kerosene, that would be the poor and low middle class, and diesel, that would be the industrial sector, in the government and the constraints on public financing of large-scale imports of these products, as in the case of gasoline, largely explain their more severe and persistent market shortages. Paragraph 3. The second dimension of Nigeria's energy crisis is exemplified by such indicators as electricity blackouts, brownouts, brownout meaning a reduction in or restriction on the availability of electrical power in a particular area, and pervasive. This means especially of an unwelcome influence or physical effect, spreading widely throughout an area or a group of people. So pervasive reliance on self-generated electricity. This development has occurred despite abundant energy resources in Nigeria. The electricity market, dominated On the supply side, by the state-owned Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN, formerly called National Electric Power Authority, NEPA, has been incapable of providing minimum acceptable international standards of electricity service reliability, accessibility, and availability for the past 3 decades. Paragraph 4. Though the peak electricity demand has been less than half of the installed capacity in the past decade, load shedding occurs regularly. Power outages in the manufacturing sector provide another dimension to the crisis. In 2004, the major manufacturing firms experienced 316 outages. This increased by 26% in 2005, followed by an explosive 43% increase between 2006 and 2007. Though no published data exists, the near collapse of the generating system to far below 2,000 megawatts for prolonged periods of time suggests a reason for the number of outages in 2008 to be very high. This poor service delivery has rendered public supply a standby source, as many consumers who cannot afford irregular and poor service quality substitute more expensive captive supply alternatives to minimize the negative consequences of power supply interruptions on their production activities and profitability. An estimated 20% of the investment into industrial projects is allocated to alternative sources of electricity supply. All right, that was it. The author argues that the Nigerian government has been unable to provide reliable electrical power to its citizens. Extending the author's reasoning, which of the following would provide the best evidence of an improvement in the Nigerian government's delivery of electrical power? Is it A, an increase in export of petroleum products? Is it B, a decrease in the profits of manufacturing firms? Or is it C, a decrease in reliance on self-generated electricity? Definitely press pause if you need to, and I'll give you a moment to think. If you're having difficulty answering, open up a second window to view the passage and search for the text support that's going to yield the correct answer choice. Okay, so in this reasoning beyond the text question, you have to apply the ideas expressed in the passage to this new situation here, okay? As well as the new situations presented in the answer choices. So you have to understand the assumptions underlying the article and assess how all this new information is going to shift the central thesis. So let's sort through our evidence. First, let's delve into answer choice A, okay? An increase in install capacity doesn't necessarily signal an improvement because the author tells us that there is more than enough install capacity in place to meet the demands, okay? So that's not going to work. And as for answer choice C, the author writes, quote, though the peak electricity demand has been less than half of the installed capacity in the past decade, load shedding, and for those of you who are not familiar with this technical term, load shedding, it's an action to reduce the load on something, especially the interruption of an electricity supply to avoid excess load on the generating power plant, okay?
So this load shedding phenomenon, quote, occurs regularly. And yeah, so a decrease in reliance on self-generated electricity, this could be a good thing. So it's looking like answer choice C may be the correct answer choice. In paragraph 4, the author talks about the negative consequences that power supply interruptions have on the profitability of manufacturing firms due to having to pay for expensive alternative sources of electricity. So, from this, a decrease in profits of manufacturing firms could be interpreted as a sign that the government's delivery of electricity is getting worse. So, this is definitely going to be incorrect, okay? And a decrease in reliance on self-generated electricity, answer choice C, does imply that Nigerians are making greater use of the government supplied electricity, suggesting an improvement in the delivery. Okay, so the author uses the term self-generated in paragraph 4 to refer to alternatives, power sources that are non-government supplied. So a decrease in this, that's going to be a good thing. And this is the correct answer choice. All right. Okay. Which of the following recommendations most clearly follows from ideas in the passage? Is it A, Nigeria would benefit from greater government regulation of energy companies? Is it B, Nigeria should focus on alternatives such as solar and nuclear power? Is it C, Nigeria should more fully exploit domestic solutions to the energy crisis? Or is it D, Nigeria should reduce the total amount of energy that its people consume? Definitely press pause if you need to, and I'll give you a moment to think. All right, let's move along. Okay, so in this reasoning beyond the text question, again, you're being required to to apply the ideas expressed in the passage to the new situations in the answer choices. So, understanding the assumptions in the article and assessing how the new information here shifts the central thesis is going to help you select the correct answer choice, okay? So let's start by dissecting answer choice A. The issue of government versus private control is not talked about at all, and almost all of the problems discussed are with government controlled production and delivery of energy. So advocating more government control, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow the passage, and answer choice A is incorrect. Similarly, for answer choice B, the author never mentions alternative energy sources like solar or nuclear power. And although they relate to global warming, too many added assumptions would be needed to support this conclusion. So we can't go with this either, okay? Let's next look at answer choice D. The author frames the crisis as needing greater supply to meet demand and never implies that energy demand, that is, consumption of energy, should be reduced. Okay, this is not implied at all. So, answer choice D is also incorrect. By default, answer choice C is our correct answer choice. But let's, take a look at it. Rather, the author focuses on existing energy sources and government failure to optimize those sources and create better delivery systems. Okay. The author writes about state owned refineries operating below capacity in paragraph 2, electric power failures despite abundant energy resources in paragraph 3, and demand being less than half the installed capacity. So the demand is pretty low, and that's mentioned in paragraph 4. So the correct answer is answer choice C. Nigeria should more fully exploit domestic solutions to the energy crisis. All right. Okay.